Joining me is the country's top foreign affairs writer, Greg Sheridan of The Australian. Now, Greg, you know, I just can't believe what Donald Trump has done here at accepting the Russian excuse that it was just a mistake.
Yeah, this has been a shocking month for Trump, Andrew. Trump started off pretty well, and he's a mixed grill. A lot of his instincts are quite good. The reasons he was elected are quite good. But from the moment in the White House, he berated Zelensky, the Ukrainian leader, then voted with Russia at the United Nations. It's just been a terrible month for Trump. Now, Trump is not an idiot. You don't get to be president if you're an idiot, but he is astonishingly susceptible to flattery, and Putin engages in the most gross flattery, you know, having portraits painted of him and so forth. But how can any adult, you know, be swayed by that? He then, he's in love with strongmen dictators, so he's given Putin everything he wants, even allowing Putin to choose Trump's negotiator. This Witkoff does look like a complete idiot, but you have to take him seriously because Trump invests authority in him. So Putin doesn't want to deal with Kellogg. And then Putin tells Trump all kinds of lies, goes on his murderous rampage. And even on that clip you played on Air Force One, Trump goes on to say he believes, not only was he told it was a mistake, he believes it is a mistake. And then he says, oh no, this is Biden's war, not my war, as though he has no responsibility for American policy. Now, it's hard to see where Trump gets a ceasefire out of this, because he's already given Putin everything he wants, and Putin is just laughing at him. Both Putin and China's Xi Jinping are playing this great power politics better than Donald Trump. And Trump is letting us down in the area where we thought he would be strong as a hard-headed, ruthless negotiator.
Well, let's not forget, too, that Witkoff is only the spare parts Putin crawler way down on the totem list. Putin wouldn't deal with Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who's supposedly in charge of foreign policy, because Rubio knows that Putin's a war criminal, can't be trusted. Wouldn't deal with General Kellogg. And so Witkoff gets sent as an absolute Putin arse licker. I mean, sorry to speak so crudely, but some things have to be called by their name. Greg, on top of this, you've got both Labor and the Coalition saying, quite rightly, the world hasn't been this dangerous for decades. It's not just Russia, of course, both warned about China in particular. Now, if that is the case, please tell me why halfway through this campaign, neither side has said anything about what they would do to keep us safe.
Well, Andrew, you know, that is a $64 million question. I don't want to be depressing to our beloved viewers and the readers of The Australian, but I had to tell you, I got a piece in tomorrow's paper pronouncing this the worst election campaign I've ever seen. So there is this relentless militarisation of China, Russia on the rampage, the world trade system collapsing, Trump casting doubt on the US alliance, which has defined Australia since 1942, and our election debate features whether you can work from home for 3.5 or 4 days, and whether we should punish supermarkets for making a profit, and every electoral bribe you can make. I think the Albanese government absolutely deserves to be turned out. The Dutton opposition does not deserve to be elected. And I don't know why Dutton has Andrew Hastie in hiding. Hastie is one of the very few people on the opposition front bench who is a substantial person outside of politics, but they've made no national use of him at all. Well, they put all the sort of non-entities and dead-enders up for interview all the time. And the Liberals still have not released their defence policy. So they tell us this is a desperately dangerous time. They tell us the government is desperately failing to live up to its national duty. And here we are, less than a week away from the beginning of voting, and they haven't even put out their defence policy or their defence budget commitments or anything else. They're not asking for the government to be held account. Their wretched little focus groups are telling them that all they should do is offer money to voters. How about they thought voters had an IQ above room temperature once, and for once, and actually said two things to them: I'm going to bribe you electorally, and also I'm going to defend you. How about they tried that?
I said, and I think you agreed, or you've said it yourself, I said weeks ago that this election should be keeping Australians safe at home and safe in the world. And I thought the Liberals were acting that way, but they haven't mentioned the second half yet. And I've got a depressing thought for you about why Andrew Hastie is being kept in mothballs: identity politics. He said he didn't want women in combat roles, and he knows, as a soldier, SAS. And he would, by raising all this, to defend the Chinese-Australian vote, which was twice as high against the coalition last election, and they don't want to defend that. And I think that's all it really comes down to. It's so sad. Greg? Yep.
Andrew, can I add one thing there? He said he didn't want women in close infantry combat roles. It's okay for them to fly fighter aeroplanes and all that. And the other point I'd make is he was in mothballs long before that came out publicly.
There you go. Well, I don't get it either. Unbelievable. Greg Sheridan, thank you so much for your time.